Lord Mayor of the city of Cologne, Andreas Volta, and we will be joined online by Mr. Enoch Tumbo from Tanzania. So I hand it over to you, Professor Bele. Quick questions and moderation for the panelists. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Because of time, I've just been signaled that we've eaten into our time. I think technology also ate a bit of our time, but let's not blame it all on technology. I will skip the section of the setting. I will just ask the question to all my panelists, and then I will give each one of them a few minutes. Unfortunately, I have to cut down to 3 minutes, just the essential message you want to send to the audience. And then we shall open up for a Q&A. Now, the first question that I will direct to the mayor of Cologne is that based on past evidence of, given your prominent position as the mayor of Cologne and the chairperson of the Climate Alliance, please share some important lessons learned using the city of Cologne from the 2021 floods. There were 2021 floods in Europe, in Germany, similar to what I demonstrated in Durban, and how the city, and perhaps the whole country, has moved from that stage to, in terms of technical and institutional structures. I will go to the next question. I will pose all the questions, then we shall have each one of them responding. The next question, Ms. Moses, can you help me here? There were some adjustment. Is it working? Okay. This will be directed to His Excellency, the Governor of Baringo. Sorry, Moses, can you help me? We structured the question, which is the question for he's replacing. Okay. Your Excellency, could you in a few minutes paint a good picture of how small developing towns, and I know that it's growing seriously in Kenya, especially in Africa, and I would like you to go a little bit in Africa, should act in the space of climate negotiation? 2020's COP 2027, we just ended it in Egypt. We are going to Dubai this month for COP 2028. Please, what should small developing cities be looking at? And to Dr. From the Lord Mayor of the Council number 3 in Garoua, that is the northern part of Cameroon, we want to find out from you, using lessons learned from the city of Garoua, how best do you think cities can access climate financing? And for my honorable colleague who is online, Mr. Enoch, the question I would like you to share with the audience here is, based on past activities of the risk-informed development, elaborate the importance of peer learning through experience in the working group on risk-informed development and the learning process on flood management for risk-informed urban development. A few months ago, we were in Windhoek with so many actors to talk about flood management in urban areas. And I think Mr. Enoch will do that. So that said, I think I've put together all the questions, and I will start with the Lord Mayor of Cologne to share his experience with us. Thank you very much, Lord Mayor.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So I will briefly summarize a little bit. First lesson learned, climate change is very expensive. So we had 400 deaths in 2 years ago by the flood, but also 30 billion euros of damaged infrastructure in our city, in our region. By example, we had rivers which had normally a level from 40 centimeters, now they went to 6.50 meters. Second lesson learned, we had errors in our early warning systems. So the people were not informed about what will happen in the next hours. So, so the responsible authorities, they failed to understand the warning systems in our region. That was point 2, why so many people died in those nights. What also lesson learned is the society works. So we had thousands, 10,000 of people who helped after the disaster. And we noticed it also from other cities and regions that there was a lot of people who were volunteers and helped for weeks and months to people they don't know. So that was one positive attitude. But the city of Cologne, we are located on a big river, and we are dealing with those issues since decades. And we decided also to get climate neutral in 2035, and we declared a climate emergency. But at least we are working for a lot of years to technical solutions, so to prevent these floods from the city, from the neighborhoods. But at least what we are doing now, after we declared also climate emergency and get climate neutral, one point is as a sponge city. So we are looking for decentral water retention, what you told in your speech a little bit just before. Now we also extend our capacity of canal network. So we have water retention basins, we make new washlands. And what we are doing, we do it in an exchange with our citizens. So we ask them, do you have any proposals? What can we better? And what at least was very interesting that we know where the water is at which level, in which streets, in which roads. So now we also bettered our information system when the floods are coming, when there is heavy rain, in which part of the cities, in which neighborhood we have the water, and on which level. And last but not least, we increase our greener city. So I think we need more also on regards to the droughts and the heat. So we need greener cities also, and it works also like a sponge. So the trees can take more water. But what I had to say last but not least is the flood we had 2 years ago. All these things won't work. So if you have such a heavy flood, it's a disaster. So what we can do is for local heavy rain falls, then we can be prepared. But with the floods we had 2 years ago, where on the region from 300 kilometers there was heavy rain, never seen before, you can't do anything. You can only inform the population. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lord Mayor. And in fact, you've managed the time so well, 3 minutes exactly. I will move to His Excellency, the Governor. Please, can you share your experience with the audience? We'll take the questions after the discussion. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Moderator, Professor Johannes. You spoke very well earlier in this presentation, and you are speaking for Africa. You are speaking for countries and counties like where I come from. When I was listening and I saw the slide that was saying Lagos is getting 77 people every hour. Nairobi is getting 22 people every hour. That is replicated in the smaller, growing urban settlements, urban centers, cities in all over the county. In Kenya, the counties are much smaller, and you will find cities of populations of between 50 and perhaps 500,000. And the rate of urbanization is so high. Now, what is this urbanization? What is the challenge that the urbanization is causing? On the background of climate change. Of course, the reasons why urbanization is growing very high is because rural economies are getting weaker and weaker. Farmlands are not producing as much as they used to produce because of drought, because of flooding, because of environmental degradation. And therefore, there is a really serious need to look at the relationship between climate change and urbanization and the attendant challenges that are coming in. It's complicated by the fact that these cities are small, and planning and preparation for disaster preparedness is limited. Urban settlements and slums are here with us. So people just come in and look for an opportunity to set up a place where they can live. In those places, perhaps there is no infrastructure. The sewage system is very limited and small. And the flooding, the infrastructure is not designed in such a manner that it can manage the floods. So where do we go? The first solution is to manage climate change. The softer issues. It is more affordable to grow trees within the environment that supplies water to the cities, so that you mitigate against this challenge of floods in the cities. If you manage climate change, then you will perhaps retain most of the people, most of the population in the rural areas. The rural economies can be self-sustaining. That is one of the solutions, because it is cheaper and more affordable to deal with the problem at the root rather than wait until, because of poor rural economies, then urban migration increases, and then because of poor infrastructure within the cities, we cannot be able to deal with challenges of flooding. We are even expecting this challenge of flooding in the next 2 months because El Nino is here with us. I am informed that in October, November, and December, many counties shall witness in our country shall witness flooding because of El Nino. Now, resource base is very small in our cities because you have to depend on rates and taxes that you collect from the urban cities. If the population is small, the amount of money that you are able to access from from revenue is limited, so that you cannot be able to be prepared for the disaster. So my challenge to the world community, and especially issues of climate change, is we need climate change funds to support the softer issues of dealing with climate change so that we prevent flooding in the first place. And if we do that, then we can limit the disaster that can happen in our cities by making sure that those people do not come to the cities. Then secondly, the climate change funds should also go towards assisting these cities in planning and getting prepared for disaster, to building the infrastructure that will avoid the possibility of flooding, especially in the informal settlements. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Excellency. And Doctor, please, I will not waste any time.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor. From your presentation, I learned a lot. So let me begin right. The city of Garoua is a medium-sized city in the northern part of Cameroon, with around 300,000 inhabitants. So, Garoua is facing floods problem, difficulties, and through this, we contact the COMECESA to support us to have a climate plan. So after having this climate plan, we come to understand, to have a better understanding of the climate issues in Garoua. First of all, we discover that the favoring factors is the geographical position of Garoua. And the determining factors is the Benue River. Then the triggering factors, severe drought and heavy rains. So the consequences of these floods are numerous. On the human plan, social and economic. So once we develop our climate plan, we need to implement it. And to implement means we need financial support. So the major problem that we are facing is the financial support to implement it. since the budget is, we have our budget is very low. The part that the government is, how can I say it? Sorry, I come from a French-speaking area, so it is not easy for me to...
You can say it in French, I'll try and translate in English.
OK. So, le problème que nous avons sur la mise en place donc, de notre plan climat, c'est la disposition en matière financière. Donc, nous faisons beaucoup face à cette difficulté-là parce que les appuis du gouvernement sont très faibles. Et très souvent, lorsque nous voulons implémenter ces projets-là, on nous demande les apports personnels. C'est-à-dire il faut apporter 15 à 20%, ce que nos pays, en tout cas notre commune, n'est pas disposée à apporter. Donc maintenant, qu'est-ce que nous faisons? Nous cherchons à maturer les projets et à les orienter vers, par exemple, la Banque africaine du développement, qui est en train de nous financer pour environ 1 milliard pour la réhabilitation des voies. Nous avons des projets sur le transport. Donc, le transport durable, c'est environ 2 milliards. Nous avons déjà obtenu à peu près 30% du financement. Nous sommes à la recherche des autres du reste. Donc, vraiment, voilà un peu. La grande difficulté, c'est les finances pour pouvoir implémenter notre plan climat.
Thank you very much. Just to summarize what you said, you understood up to where he was mentioning that the state funds are really depleted. So sometimes they don't get money from the state to carry out the climate plan that they have. How do? They try to look out to other financing institutions like the African Development Bank, which is now helping them to carry out certain projects in that area. One of the projects he mentioned was the sustainable transport system. And in that particular case, they had to go out to look for funding. So actually, the main problem, the main focus of not executing most of the plan, being a small council without a lot of money, is finances. Merci beaucoup, Doctor. Mr. Tombo, you're online. Can you hear us? Hello? Okay, it looks like we've lost him. Is there any burning question from the audience that you want to pose to the panelists? And I want to assure you, please take their contact details. Please engage with us in the whole of this time when we are around. If there was a question that you could not answer, you could not ask here, and you want to ask to any of the panelists, please feel free to engage them outside of this particular setting. But if there is a burning question, please, from anyone, you can ask. I'll give you just 1 minute. I know my time is over. And yes, I was timing 8 o'clock at the dot. We are out.
Hello. Hello, Moses.
Yeah, please. Moses, just 1 minute. Pose your question, please.
Okay. Good morning. I think it was an interesting discussion. My question is around how are you engaging the communities, because they're the most impacted. So how is the local government working with the national government? Because our Zambian situation is that we have a Ministry of Green Economy at national level who's implemented the national climate adaptation plan. And then we have the local authorities that are also planning on their own. So how are you creating those synergies between the two when it comes to climate funding?
Okay, thank you. Anyone can respond.
Okay. What I have to say is that any action that we plan to implement at the local level must be confirmed at the higher level, at the level of the Ministry of Planning. Okay. So there is a special links. We cannot implement something that is not approved by the ministry.
Okay, thank you. Lord Mayor, you have something to say? I think you mentioned something like that. Okay, they say my time is over. Tombo, are you still there?
Online. I'm still online.
Yes, please, please, 1 minute. I've stolen people's time here. Just in 1 minute, key message.
Okay. Okay, for having me today, and for the side of peer learning through experience within the working group on disk-informed urban development. I would like to share the importance of it. And first, in the case of Dar es Salaam, in managing of floods risk, we can provide a lot of experience and best lesson learned in the other cities where they can generate their best practices from the case of Dar es Salaam. Another side for the peer learning, it help on knowledge sharing, technical expertise, policy alignment, as well as capacity building, and at large on monitoring and evaluation. Thank you for having me today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You're wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Please, there is a good case in Dar es Salaam. Those who want to see exactly peer learning and what we've learned, please just go to Dar es Salaam. I would like you, I'm very, very sorry for time factor. We planned it 1 hour, but actually we exceeded a little bit. Madam Moderator, I'm so sorry for taking part of your time, but please can we give a hand of applause to this wonderful panel. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. By way of introduction, my name is Nasra Nanda. I am the CEO at the Kenya Green Building Society, as well as the chairperson of the World Green Building Council Africa Regional Network. Before I delve into today's discussion and introduction for the session, some housekeeping rules. If you could kindly put your phones on silent, and if you have any questions for the speakers, kindly keep them with you until the very end of the session. And so, without further ado, let us begin. So, today's session is on building the Africa we want, where our aim is to advance sustainable cities and climate finance for Africa's growing population and urban spaces. Why is this important? Africa has rapid urbanization. It is estimated that we'll have a population of 1.4 billion before 2050. That in itself means that we have a population that is rapidly growing. For purposes of Africa, a lot of that is a young population, eager to explore opportunities in urban spaces and cities. For this reason, and for the reason that the growth of this population and an overburdened built environment is going to be a key challenge for governments, the Africa Regional Network of World Green Building Councils around 15 countries in Africa developed the Africa Manifesto for Sustainable Cities and the Built Environment. The manifesto is a crucial document which outlines crucial policies which will guide, influence, and shape what governments in different parts of Africa need to focus on in order to win the climate conversation for Africa. So, without further ado, one of the key things we will try to do is to provide insights from across the region, provide guidance on what we think should be done, and conclude with key takeaways. I have with me today four panelists, each an industry leader on their own right. And I will shortly introduce all of them and invite them to come and sit here before I then take you through their brief bios. Starting off, I would like to introduce Maurice Makolo, who is the Vice President of Habitat for Humanity International Africa. Maurice, a round of applause for Maurice, please. Up next, I'd like to call Vera Bukachi, who is an Associate and Cities and Resilience Lead at ARUP East Africa. Next, I'd like to call upon Dr. Olufunzo Somorin, who is the Regional Principal Officer, Climate Change and Green Growth, Africa Development Bank. Morning. And last but not least, all the way from Mauritius, we have the founding chairperson for the Green Building Council, Mauritius, and a member of the World Green Building Council Global Policy Task Force, Tony Lee Luen Len. Okay, you may sit. So starting from Tony, just to give you a little bit of insights about who's before us. Tony has worked in the sustainability space for 25 years. He's a senior partner of Ecosys, a sustainability and social impact consultancy. In 2007, Tony returned to his home country in Mauritius after working in South Africa for a number of years, and where he developed the first award-winning green residential development. Today, Tony regularly contributes to regulatory, policy, and strategy work for international organizations, DFIs, and governments on smart cities, green buildings, energy efficiency, circular economy, innovative finance, and digital transformation. His holistic and innovative approach to tackling wicked problems has led to Tony in winning several awards in the fields of sustainability. Tony, as I earlier mentioned, is the founding chairperson of the Green Building Council of Mauritius. He is an expert for U4SSC, which is the United for Smart and Sustainable Cities, an advocacy group uniting 14 UN organizations. Dr. Funzo, or Dr. Olufunzo Somorin, is a regional principal officer at the African Development Bank. He leads the bank's work on climate change and green growth in the 13 countries of the bank's East African region. This includes supporting countries' access to climate finance, for implementing their climate actions, and mainstreaming climate change in all banks' policies and programs. He also leads the work on policy dialogue with national and regional governments on developing policy frameworks for managing local, regional, economic and social issues, climate change, renewable energy, resilience, and inclusive growth. Between 2013 and 2017, he coordinated the bank's work on addressing fragility and building resilience within the Horn of Africa. Dr. Funzo is well established both in the finance aspects of this work around climate resilience and a keen supporter and champion around cross-cutting conversations around climate. Dr. Funzo is not just a champion for sustainability,